Hello and welcome to Gatherers News Unscripted, your home for humanity-centered tech journalism. My name is Raphael, and today we're talking about AI and climate change. Climate change, as basically everybody knows at this point, is the biggest challenge facing humanity, not just a century, but going forward. The effects of climate change are getting worse. Our summers are getting hotter. Our winters are getting wetter. We just saw that in California. So it's the big challenge of our time. There's two primary ways in which we're trying to attack climate change, which is one, mitigation, and two, adaptation. Mitigation is trying to slow the emissions that we currently have, while adaptation is looking at dealing with the consequences that we know are coming and that are unavoidable. Now, AI specifically is looking to get into the climate change game or the stopping the climate change game. And this past weekend, we saw that at the AI Hackathon in San Francisco. Um, it was organized by OpenAI, Lower Carbon Capital, Streamline, Cerebral Valley, and it brought together climate scientists and experienced AI developers to discover new ways to take on this challenge. Um, we were there. Chikoti Chima and Gatherverse News bring you the story. Let's take a look.
Rising sea levels, extreme weather patterns, food insecurity. These are all problems that we are facing as a society as a result of global climate change. And behind me here at Shack 15, we have dozens of teams at the Climate AI Hackathon that are using the latest advances in AI technology to address the global climate crisis. I'm Chikati Chima for Gatherverse News. Come with me as we explore the Climate AI Hackathon today here in San Francisco at Shack 15.
Hi, I'm Helena, CEO and co-founder of a company called Streamline. We help automate grant writing for climate companies using language models.
So tell us, why are we here today?
We're here to solve climate problems using AI. We're bringing together climate companies who have internal workflow challenges, and they're going to pitch those problems to a room full of developers who have 24 hours to try to build a solution. It's super exciting. We opened a Slack last night, and a bunch of people jumped in, started introducing themselves. Everybody from like solar developers to people working on direct air capture on like the climate side, and then on the AI side, all sorts of people who are either operating their own startups and curious about climate, or just top AI engineers working in software in San Francisco.
Tell us about this shirt you've got on.
So this was actually created with generative AI. What I did was ask the large language model what images would best convince people to be concerned about climate change.
We're investing in climate as if it is a major industrial revolution. We're changing everything about the way we eat our food, about how we build our buildings, how we get around, how we power everything. And software helps accelerate the decisions that we should be making efficiently to make that impact. The way we think about it is we're funding the companies that are fighting the climate crisis. And I think that the government has a really clear role to play with regulation and deploying government dollars to help us decarbonize and suck carbon out of the air. But I think at the same time, I really believe in market-based solutions. I think we should be marshaling all the entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, convincing a lot more of them to be working on businesses that can scale up and that can solve different parts of the problem with regards to the climate crisis.
Do you guys want to tell us what you're working on?
Yes, Jackson and we are very excited to be working on the biodiversity space. So we are mostly looking, exploring like what are all the needs for biodiversity in the world. So like from cities to oceans to forests. And we just decided now that based on the Pachama prompt, that decisions are based on carbon potential. And can we create a biodiversity baseline so decisions can be made for projects on both carbon stock potential, but also biodiversity richness.
We are here at Shack 15 on day 2 of the Climate AI Hackathon.
I like the hackathons that have a particular focus. The first one we did here was around just making positive social impact. So I think this is really leaning into that. I A great population of climate tech founders in the Bay, especially in San Francisco. And I'm just excited to see what products and solutions people are using and how they're using AI to solve for that. Also, there's a lot more women at this hackathon than there are other ones, which makes me really, really happy. I love seeing female builders and female founders.
We are with the second prize winners. And why don't you tell us who you are and what you built today?
My name is Alex. I am a startup founder in the AI space, and we built Litterbug, which is a tool for mapping, tracking, and dispatching people to pick up litter across cities.
And it's mounted to a bicycle and it automatically detects trash. Is that correct? Where did this idea come from?
We normally, at my company, Rubbish, our job is to create clean, healthy, and sustainable neighborhoods. And we do that by gathering environmental data through around our city streets. And our previous way of doing that was with an iPhone app, and we were individually snapping photos and categorizing them. So we were looking for a way to automate this. And Alex had an idea for a similar system to identify illegal dumping. And we found each other, and we decided to hack away for 36 hours.
And what was the key breakthrough that you guys had together in this experience that made this possible?
I think a great breakthrough was actually generating a heat map of all where the trash is in San Francisco. And to do that, there were some tricks there, like actually annotating our own data sets, which Alex can talk more about. But the key is the heat map shows you where all the trash is in San Francisco, so we can go and collect it.
Thank you guys, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We are here with the team from AgriTalk, who are the winners of the hackathon. Congratulations. Do you want to do a quick introduction and then also tell us what your project was about?
Sure, yeah. I'm Survi Vesh, and I'm a robotics engineer, really excited about the intersection of robotics and climate. Met really cool people at this hackathon. We didn't know each other. We just met here and built a team and worked on this product that Ali can talk about more. Yeah.
So what does AgriTalk do?
Do you want to go down?
Yeah, sure. So AgriTalk turns free flow conversation data, so completely unstructured, into a structured format, a table that can help sales and business development representatives interpret their calls and make sure that they're asking the correct questions, that they're following up with the right things when they talk to customers. Specifically, we built it for a company called Lithos. They use this naturally occurring mineral, which is called basalt, for carbon capture and increasing crop yields. And so one of the biggest challenges that they run into is that farmers have a lot of tribal knowledge. So everything about all the stuff that they need to learn is literally inside of the person's mind. They don't have access to any kind of structured data. And so the only way to pull that information out is by picking up the phone, calling the farmer. And so that's a really strenuous and slow process to actually close a deal. So we wanted to accelerate that by augmenting them with large language models, and eventually really start automating the process.
And why is this so important for climate change?
Yeah, I think the big thing with climate change is you really have to get buy-in from key stakeholders. And I think there's no bigger key stakeholder than a farmer. And so to be able to enable climate tech companies to have better and more efficient conversations without forcing those key stakeholders to change the way they operate, right? In the existing world, they operate on phone calls. We don't want to disrupt that and force them to go through that friction. We want to work within these existing modalities, but still be able to create efficiencies for these climate tech companies so they can get their solutions to market faster and cheaper.
The one thing I'd add to that is from a higher level picture, the faster that a company like Lithios can close with a farmer, the faster they can deploy their solution, the faster they can actually start capturing carbon. So that's from a climate perspective, that's really the impact.
Yeah, and even today they have a backlog of thousands of acres of farmland that they are unable to process quickly enough in order to deploy their basalt fertilizer essentially. So yeah, this kind of technology can really help scale their operation up.
So what you're saying basically is that they can't put the basalt on the field until they get the buy-in from the farmer. And in order to get the buy-in from the farmer, they have to get on the phone. And to get on the phone and get all that information out of their head and into a computer takes a really, really long time. And you're helping them do that faster?
Exactly.
Team AgriTalk, congratulations on the win.
So that was the AI Climate Hackathon this past weekend in San Francisco at Shack 15. Special thank you to Juliana Salmon and Chakoti Chima for attending the event and helping tell this story. We're actually going to bring on Camilla Faraz, who we saw in the video. She is a former product manager at Google and also a soon-to-be startup founder and an attendee of this last weekend's event. Thanks for joining us, Camilla. How are you doing?
Hi, Rafael. Doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Tell us about the event this past weekend. What was the energy like being there?
Yeah, just before we start, I love the soon to be founder. This has been a very exciting journey to transition to the next phase. Yes, this is coming. The hackathon was incredible. Speaking of this transition time, I think it was really inspiring to see all these very bright minds from very different backgrounds together to build something in 24 hours. And a bunch of people who care about climate, some of them with a lot of industry knowledge, others just want to apply their background to make a difference. So that's really inspiring. And I also want to echo what someone said on the video that you just presented. I've been so impressed about the female leadership presence and also the female leadership traits that we are seeing in climate tech. I think this is also another revolution.
I think that's awesome. Tell us more about who was there. So we mentioned before it was climate scientists and also AI developers. Like, what kind of interactions did you see at the hackathon that are going to help us maybe tackle climate change?
Yeah, I think this is at the core of what made this weekend so rich. We had diverse backgrounds. Most of people who I interacted with, they were machine learning software engineers, a lot of academia, researchers, business people, product managers. But I would say the vast majority of my interactions were with other ML swings. And there was also a good representation of VCs. So also really interesting to see how we are. I think historically we can think about conservation and environmental issues as philanthropy. And I think it's super critical for us to think of sustainability. And I think things sustain if we can also make the business side work. So it was also really nice to see the VC's perspective and how they were approaching the solutions and the problem spaces that we were exploring.
It looks like it was a very successful hackathon. And we saw you on day one, I believe, in the video talking about your project. Tell us a little bit more about that. You ended up being a top 8 finalist, actually.
Yeah, we got to present it, so it was really nice to get larger feedback. We were tackling the biodiversity problem, to be more specific. That was one of the prompts that it was available from companies at the hackathon. But the reason why we like to focus on the biodiversity piece so much is because you just kicked it off talking about adaptation and mitigation. I think whenever we think of climate change, we talk about CO2 emissions. And we are in a very challenging spot when it goes to global warming. But without biodiversity, reality is that we can't exist as humans. And if we're thinking in the short term, yes, economies will be highly impacted too. And we are seeing that half of the world's GDP depends and relies on biodiversity. And for the species that we are already utilizing, we are seeing a decline globally of 50% of them. In South America specifically, it's over 90% decline for the species that we use. So there is a major biodiversity problem that we were trying to tackle. There are incredible startups. They are mostly concentrated in Europe, collecting better biodiversity data and processing them. But we also consider that the world can't wait. So our challenge in the hackathon was, what can we do today with the data that we have? And how can we use generative AI to help decision makers in companies make decisions, make better decisions, not only for supplier choices based on cost, but also on biodiversity impact, for a carbon developer to create a baseline that can enrich biodiversity, not only sequester carbon, or for a government to make city interventions, because we know health is better, living is better if cities are more biodiverse. So that's why we picked the biodiversity angle.
That's super interesting. Streamlining access to data so that people that are making decisions can make the right decisions. That is so
Right?
cool.
Biodiversity decisions made easy. That was our prompt. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. Camilla, what did you leave the weekend feeling like? Are you feeling encouraged? Do you feel like the solutions are out there and we're getting there? Do you feel like AI is going to help us really tackle this issue?
I do. I loved that that was the scope. I think it was very specific to be AI plus climate. I've been working with climate for a couple of years now with nature-based solutions specifically. We had AI at the core of what my team was doing before, but this was the first time that I led with AI for climate, and I think that completely reshapes our thinking. Um, so I left this weekend with a couple takeaways. One, they're really smart people looking and caring about this problem. Two, we should consider to be continue to be very, very responsible about how we approach AI and how we approach climate. So these two things together, they are gonna be able to accelerate how we do things and the impact that we make, but also like staying very aware of the implications of the data that we bring, of how we use this data, and what are these free flow agents, let's call that way, that are learning potentially in a word without supervision even. How is this guiding the decisions that companies and people are making? So really good to see all these people in this space. It comes with a lot of responsibility, but the opportunities are just so broad.
It looks like it was an exciting event, exciting opportunity, and we're excited to see what it looks like going in the future. That was Camilla Faraz, former product manager at Google and soon to be startup founder. Thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tomorrow on Gatherverse News, we have Lisa Bernard. She's going to be talking to the CEO of Reality Craft, Ivo Henning. So make sure you're here tomorrow. That's Lisa Bernard with Ivo Henning. It's our pioneer profile for the week. It should be amazing. Lisa has consistently been delivering amazing pioneer profiles, so I know where I'll be tomorrow. Again, this is Gatherverse News Unscripted. Thank you for joining us. I'm Raphael. I'll see you next week.